Right on time. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today. Welcome. I am Franka Martinovic. I'm Director of Support here at Intercom, and I'm thrilled to be joined by some real life Intercom customers who have truly transformed their career progression in the age of AI. We're here today to hear their stories and how they've worked through to transform their careers in the last year. Hopefully, this can inspire all of you, and hopefully, they can also give you some advice into how you could transform your roles. So we've all heard, I think, people say, "Oh, AI is taking our jobs," but what if we flip the record? What about completely transforming our jobs? So before we head into the fireside chat, I do want to share a couple of housekeeping items, that's just so we're all on the same page. The session is being recorded and we will share it afterwards. We also do encourage questions from the audience. So there's a QA box on the right-hand side of your screen. And at the end of our conversation, we'll dedicate some time to address some of your questions. So please go ahead and drop your questions in there. And in the interim, feel free to share how you're finding everything in the chat. And now that we've done that, I am really excited to kick us off and let Eric and Danielle introduce themselves. So, Danielle, let's start with you.
Okay. I am Danielle Constantine. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and I am the CEO of MyHSA, which is a company that kind of exists in the intersection of tech and benefits. And we're at a scale up phase now, providing solutions to employers who want to give their employees really cool benefits in Canada.
Nice. How about you, Eric?
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Brulette, based in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm the VP of Support and Education at Bloomerang, and Bloomerang is a company that provides fundraising software for nonprofits to raise more funds and do more good in the world. And so my role entails working directly with our support team and then also our education team that is primarily focused on the documentation and the one-to-many training of our customers.
Very good. Okay. Because we're talking transformation, I think it's only right we start talking before the transformation happens. So I'm curious, like looking back to before AI became a part of your role, how would you describe your day-to-day work? Maybe we can start with you on this one, Eric.
Yeah. I think personally, before AI, kind of your classic case that you might have heard is that I was doing a lot of manual and mundane tasks, and that was just occupying a whole lot of time. And then once I discovered AI and the possibilities of leveraging the technology, I was able to kind of offload a lot of that work onto AI agents or put kind of the manual processes in a systems and let it run. And then that kind of freed up the time to really think more strategically and things like that. So the day-to-day felt like just like living in spreadsheets or doing tasks and things like that, where now it's been a fundamental shift in terms of it's more strategic thinking and more strategic projects, because the AI components can be offloaded and free up my space a little bit more.
Absolutely. I feel like that's a common theme of some of the tasks that used to be so manual kind of disappearing from your life. How about you, Danielle?
Yeah, that's very much the same for me, but I love talking about where it all started. So my HSA started in 2013, and when I came on board, it was 2018. And that was when AI was really just a buzzword. It wasn't really something that everyone was talking about. And I was explicitly instructed that my HSA would never, ever adopt bots or any kind of automation because our value proposition was very much human engagement and human touch. And that was our differentiator in our industry as well, being insurance and everything. So it was very, very, very set out for me that we would never really adopt any kind of automation. But I did have a really heavy workload at the time. I was the sole chat provider, and I was taking up to 8 chats at a time. So I started to build out a department of other chat staff, but they were also being overrun and we were scaling quickly. So I guess really how it came about was that I actually went into ChatGPT, which was kind of new at the time, in 2021, I think. And I asked ChatGPT to provide some solutions for my workload. And it said, it actually provided intercom. It said intercom at the top, which was very interesting. So I started looking into it, and it honestly changed everything. And I know we'll get into that a bit more, but really what Eric was saying, where it takes off a lot of the manual, repetitious, monotonous work, and made us able to scale.
That's amazing. I mean, thank you, ChatGPT. I swear we didn't program that. That is fantastic. I'm glad you're here today, Danielle. Since we're talking about like AI transforming careers, was there ever for either of you like an aha moment when it came to AI and your role specifically?
For me, my aha moment was more so when I saw the results. Before that, it was more of a freaking out moment, because I thought it might be a good idea, but I wasn't really sure. And I brought it to my leaders at the company, and they were open to trying it. But my peers were a little bit more hesitant, and so I kind of wasn't sure what the outcomes were going to be. But I thought it's something we've got to try. I think the world is moving in this direction. So I guess the aha moment for me was more so once we actually deployed it and saw it start to do things that we didn't think it was going to be able to do. And we learned how to guide it and work with the programming and machine learning that's in place and everything. That was when it became an aha moment.
Very good. Yeah, I'm trying to think of mine, and I believe for me specifically, it was like when I saw it kind of, not, I'm not going to say pushing back maybe on a customer is the right expression. It's like questioning. It's like, are you sure? Like, or how did you do that? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is a new ball game way back when, at the very, very start. So how about you, Eric? Did you have one?
Yeah, very, very similar to Danielle. Personally, I've always been interested in tech and being on the forefront of cutting edge technology and things like that, and seeing how it can work into our teams, my workflows, my personal life, all of that types of stuff. So when ChatGPT was originally rolled out, I signed up immediately, really not even knowing what it was capable of doing. And then intrinsically, I just leaned in and embraced the technology. Well, like Danielle said, I knew that this was kind of the future of where technology was going, and I needed to learn it myself so that I could apply it in other areas. And um, I say this a lot, especially to our support team, that like chatbots and technology have been around for decades, right? Like everyone knows the chatbots are on websites and things like that, but the technology that AI has provided for the industry has just accelerated the momentum and um, really accelerated the results. And so my aha moment actually came on the demo with our sales rep for Intercom. Very similar to Danielle, I was doing a lot of research and understanding of what tools that could be applicable to our support team, and Finn was one of those. And then on the demo, seeing the sales rep take our help center, put it into Finn, have me ask the questions, and seeing the results come with no training or anything of that nature, I immediately like ended that call. I was like, we need this and we need this tomorrow. So I think that was just cool, just to see the technology kind of wrap around our product and how we serve our customers, and how effective it was without guidance or even any sort of tweaking that we had done yet.
Fantastic. That's a great, just really good to hear real life how that looked for you. And then I guess in the latest edition of Blueprint for AI agents, we talk in Intercom about these two kind of phases. First is launch it and then scale it phase of AI adoption. And what you were talking about there was basically the launch it phase, when it's going from that buy-in, that aha moment, to setup and deployment. But scale it is actually where we see the real results, the real transformation, and for the business. And you've lived through both. So curious for both of you, and maybe we can start with you, or Eric, on this one. Like, which stage was most challenging for you personally, and what did it teach you about your own growth?
Both of the stages are, I think, equally challenging for different reasons. The launch phase for me, the challenging aspect of it was getting buy-in and commitment from other people across the organization. So Finn or AI wasn't on the roadmap. It wasn't on people's radars. And so a lot of the work that I did in kind of the launch it phase was I needed to get executive buy-in. And kind of get everyone on board with the importance of this, which I was able to do. And then once we got the approval, it was all coordination of cross-functional leaders and cross-functional work. And we actually just took a really small team and were really agile in terms of our launch it phase. I knew that we needed to show really immediate results. So we got implemented and launched it quickly and then kind of iterated on the launch phase. But I think the key there was continuing to kind of sell the story to our executive team, and also having a really small team that is really bought into what we're doing was crucial and critical for our success. And then when you think about the scale it phase, we're fortunate that our resolution rate is like around 65-70%. And so there really weren't silver bullets that we could go implement and say like, hey, if we added these 5 docs, we're going to see a 10% increase in our resolution rate. We're in the phase right now of it's a lot of nickel and diming it. And so getting really deep into the data and the questions and how customers are asking questions versus how our documentation is laid out and things like that. We're starting to see kind of those incremental improvements on our resolution rate. But the challenge there is you got to go really deep, and you have to kind of understand a lot of the details and how things are working with each other and the wording and things like that. So the scale of phase for us is all about small tweaks. Continual small tweaks over time will lead to large outcomes.
Very good. And I'm curious, like from the people who are chiming in with us today, like where would you position yourself? Like, are you in the launch phase? Are you thinking about it? Are you pre-launch phase? Or maybe you're in scale phase? Tell us in the chat. But Danielle, how about you? Like which stage was kind of more challenging for you?
Yeah, I'm excited to see those answers rolling in too. For me, the launch it phase was the most challenging just because I was so scared. We actually launched on Halloween. So it was the scariest Halloween ever. And I was like ignoring trick-or-treaters as I was watching this AI handle questions in real time when trick-or-treaters were just like getting their own candy at the door. But that was the scary part for me just because I had put my neck out for this idea. I had told with quite amount of maybe assertion to my executives that this was going to be revolutionary for us. And so if it kind of like what Eric was saying, I was looking for results immediately. I was really hoping to see something good. And we did. It started out at like 20% resolution right off the bat. So we were really happy with that because we had just given it some of our PDFs and some of our documents. And over time, scaling it, the scale it phase for me was so fun. Like I became absolutely obsessed because our industry is complex. We're tech, we're insurance, we're not insurance, we're spending accounts. There's a lot of different things. There's governance rules and all these things. And so it's very complex, but I just kind of honed in on watching the chats, and anytime our AI couldn't handle or couldn't answer the chat and transferred it to a person, I'd immediately write an article to answer that question. And I just started cranking out articles. My support team probably can attest to the fact that I would write an article, copy and paste the URL, send it to them and say, new article, new article. I was sending like 10 or 12 articles a day, just obsessed with watching this AI take off. And of course, there have always been the great thing about Intercom is there's always improvements. So there's been guidance that comes and everything. And then I become even more obsessed because it's not just the knowledge, it's all kinds of things, the tone, the voice and everything. So scaling it was really, really fun. I wouldn't say it was, it was challenging, but it was intense and exciting. Launching was more challenging for me. But the whole thing actually was really fun. Like if you just kind of lean into the experience, I think it's definitely something. And the experience is so valuable as well, like in your career, knowing how to do all that now. So
I love how real you're being. I think a lot of the people maybe outside of support world who kind of struggle understanding what support really does day to day, they just think it's like, well, but what's the problem with just turn it on. But there's a big like responsibility on making sure like we are the face of like our company to our customers. We need to make sure that what we're doing is right. And someone will maybe ask, well, like, isn't that the thing with humans as well? there's just something about like control, and maybe like if a human makes one mistake, that's one mistake. But if like an AI makes a mistake, it feels bigger. And there's that fear at the beginning. But I think once you start seeing it in action and realizing how much it helps and how good it actually is, just all of it kind of evaporates. So I love that we're talking about the scale phase, because Eric touched on like basically how detailed it is these days. And that usually means, and you, Danielle, you spoke about like writing all these articles. That then means that like probably you had to look at your organizations and your systems and rewire it, and the roles that like popped up around this AI. So how has this shift changed the kind of skills and responsibilities that really define success in your career? Maybe Danielle, if you could start, could start with you on this one.
Sure. So for me personally, of course, bringing this in meant that now it was my job to make sure it was doing well. So I became very much a knowledge keeper. And by becoming a knowledge keeper, I had to learn the answers to everything. So if I didn't know the answer to something, but I was teaching our AI, I would have to research and find the answer. And I actually, as a byproduct of training our AI, I somehow became an expert in our industry, just because I was also learning everything as I was training the AI. So I was able to elevate my expertise in our industry as well. And that goes for the staff that I had on support as well. At the time that we brought it in, I only had a few chat agents. One of them now is our head of experience, and I saw that she's tuned in right now, Paige, but she has taken Intercom on as well, and had very much the same experience where she came on in a chat support role, and then her role transformed because now she had to be the knowledge keeper. She had to guide the AI. There's so much experience that comes with that. There's so much learning that comes with that. And now you're being seen as a leader in this space that is brand new, which is amazing. And it really transforms roles, because I would probably say this a few times, but I find that leaning into AI really enhances the human component. So it makes that side even more valuable. So if you are the one that's, taking on not just the AI, but the stuff that AI can't handle, the more sensitive things, the more high stakes situations, projects, and things like that, improvements to the system, your work has become more valuable. You're not being replaced. You're actually becoming more valuable because it's getting rid of all the distraction and all the noise, I find.
That's amazing. And hello to Paige, the knowledge keeper. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I'd plus one everything that Danielle said. I'd also lean in and say, I think the commonality that you're hearing in a lot of our answers are embrace it and own it. And if you do that, if you have that mindset, it's going to create this environment of people like, I also want to embrace it. I also want to own it. And they start to kind of follow your lead there. So I think for me personally, like how this has shifted my skills and responsibilities, I led the entire project from inception to deployment, still really heavily involved in the scale phase as well. But it opened up an opportunity for me to get more visibility across the entire company. I had to get executive buy-in. I had to fight for what I thought was the right thing for our team, for our customers. And transparently, the project's seen as a giant success at Bloomerang. It's one of the most effective cross-functional projects that we've been able to implement at our company in quite some time. And so as a result, that has given me more opportunities to be up in front of the company to speak. It's given me kind of more of a voice and kind of drive towards kind of more strategic outcomes and things like that. So it's kind of opened up that door a little bit, and people have seen me personally in a little bit different light than they hadn't seen in the past, where they knew like support was great and Eric's doing a great job of leading the support team, but he's capable of more. And so as a result, I moved into a VP role. I took on 3 new teams, and the Fin and AI in general has really just given me that opportunity to be more strategic in my role, to own more beyond just support. And so I think those opportunities eventually would have come. Not saying they wouldn't, but I think with AI and in particular with Fin, I think it just accelerated my growth and accelerated my opportunities to get more exposure and own more within within the company.
It's fantastic. And, it sounds like from both of your experiences, it turned out the fear of like AI replacing the work the AI helps elevate the work. So what was the moment when you kind of AI made you realize that, and it kind of allowed you to focus on higher impact opportunities?
So I think it's important to share. We implemented Fin back in October of last year. So we're like still relatively new, but during that time, it's also 2026 budget planning, right? So putting together forecasts and things of that nature. So it was a little bit of a challenge for myself I know this tool is coming, and then I think I know the impact. And so when I was going through my budget and my planning, I was putting together the forecast as I normally would, right? If we didn't have the tool, we didn't have AI, what would the impact, what would the team growth need to look like to meet our goals, our KPIs and things like that? And then I overlaid my assumptions of what Fin could do. And if you're anything like me, I color code everything with conditional formatting. I see a lot of red turn to green. And the red to green meant that our team in its current state is going to have additional capacity, which is amazing, right? Because support agents, as we all know, are overwhelmed with the work. We never feel like we can get ahead, things of that nature. And so it was at that time when I was like visually seeing the impact that it could have. It's like, oh man, we can now take really highly skilled, highly talented people on our team and put them into positions where we haven't been able to focus before. Focus on retention, focus on more proactive outreach with customers, and really start to drive towards like how can support continue to be a driver towards retention of our customers. And so to me, it's not like a cost cutting exercise or anything like that. And it's really, how do we reallocate the capacity that we have to drive more human-led initiatives? And I think that narrative and that story that I told is very appealing to everyone. It's appealing to the team because they see growth opportunities. It's appealing to executives because they see the budget and all of those types of things. But I think the real impact is like what we can continue to do to serve our customers with humans who are highly knowledgeable and highly empathetic to be more proactive with our customers.
I love that. And that really resonates with me because that was my focus this past year, was finding those opportunities to drive adoption of the product. And we started measuring everything in revenue as well. So now all of a sudden the story of support is changing from the kind of cost, which is normally what support is perceived as to like, oh, sounds like you could do more than that, which has been so refreshing and it's a completely different narrative. And I love to hear that from you, Eric. How about you, Danielle?
Very much the same as what Eric was saying. And I took some notes. The fact that you just launched Fin in October last year and you're already at a 65% resolution is insane. So congratulations on that. Very, very cool. But I did want to say that from the outset, because we also weren't sure. But from the outset, as an ethical decision, we told our staff, we are not going to replace you with AI. If this AI is so good that it handles even the whole entire job description of a chat agent, we will find something for you. So we went in with that energy. And as proof that it did not take jobs, I'm hiring right now for a CSR and for a client support coordinator. So if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see I've got the hiring banner. We are scaling. And that's really the important part, is that we obviously didn't come into this relationship with Intercom looking for a cost-cutting tool. We actually didn't, truth be told. We looked in looking for a scalability tool because we were scaling faster than we could keep up with. I always make the joke that it felt like we were on a treadmill that was turned on way too fast and we were like booking it and hanging on for dear life. We could not get off this hiring hamster wheel. And what we needed was a scaling tool. So we wanted to keep hiring and keep scaling, but what we wanted to do, to Eric's point, was reallocate human intelligence to something that impacts the bigger picture more than taking the same chat over and over again. Is this eligible? Am I going to get my claim reimbursed? How long for approval? Those kind of things. We don't need a really talented, skilled person with really great character to answer the same question 25 times a day. It's actually unfair to them. It's unfair to their intelligence. So what we were able to do is take them off of those tasks and even more complex inquiries down the line so that they can do projects, they can do outbound messaging, they can engage our sales force more because we have an external sales force. Again, kind of like Eric said, like you start to see people with capacity and that helps them kind of fall into their personal skill set. And then you can see that and reflect their role based on that. That's really what we've seen happening. So I really don't think AI has replaced anyone's job here. I just think that it's reallocated the human intelligence to way bigger and better and cooler and less annoying things.
Yeah. And it sounds like both of you kind of had that while there was initial fear, it sounds like you both had this vision of how this is going to work for you. But to kind of have that buy-in yourself is one thing, and to build that trust with your team and with your customers, I guess, is another one. And I'm curious, like, was this something that was given top down to you? You were told, go on, figure this out. You have to incorporate AI, or did you sort of bring AI initiative to the top? And it seems like for both of you, there was more of you than there was top down, but I'm sure some of our folks are experiencing a different sort of directive. So I'm curious, like, if maybe Eric, we can start with you. Like, how did this happen for you?
Yeah. This was not a top-down directive. In 2025, there was a lot more conversation at Bloomerang about AI and using AI in intelligent fashions. But when I looked intrinsically, I was like, I'm hearing this message. What does this mean for me a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? What does this mean for the team? And so I knew I needed to get out ahead of it and push AI up instead of waiting for it to be pushed down to me. So yeah, it wasn't given the directive, but I think that if you think about it in your career, if you're not getting the directive, I think that this is a huge opportunity for you to manage up and coach up and say that this is the opportunity that we need to go tackle, because it will produce really positive results for your team. And as the owner of the project, you'll be seen in a really positive light as well.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. How about you, Danielle?
100,000% what Eric is saying. If you are not being told by your bosses to get AI going, tell your bosses it's time to get AI going, because if you don't, you're going to miss the train, and the train is at the station right now. We got on the train early somehow. Again, I kind of look back and I feel like it was not to get all crunchy on you, but I feel like it was kind of kismet that it came into our sites at the exact time that it did, because we were not going to be able to scale at the rate that we did if we did not lean into AI. And it transformed the way our company scaled and is looked at in our industry. And to answer your question again, it always brings me back to this kind of like, I almost disobeyed the instructions by saying, I know we already talked about this and that we're not gonna do bots or automation ever, because again, in our industry and insurance and things like that, the turnaround times are slow, wait time, like hold times are such a, status quo, things like that. So we had made it our value proposition to have a human available pretty much any time of day over our live chat. And so for me to then come in and be like, hey, I know we talked about this, but hear me out. I think we should get into AI. It was very much coming from me up. But if there's anyone listening that is in leadership and is here because someone brought the idea to you, I would just say, be open to it. My leaders were open to it and were open to the idea, and it completely transformed everything we've done ever since.
Fantastic. Very good. So at Intercom, we really highlight in all of our resources, including blueprints that was shared earlier, the importance of treating AI as infrastructure that kind of continuously improves. How has this helped you grow into new roles or responsibilities you just didn't expect when you first started with it? And maybe Eric, you can start here.
Yeah, I've hit on a few of the pieces already for me personally. I will say for our team, it's opened up more growth opportunities for them. For context, we've promoted or moved 6 people on our team in the first 6 weeks of the year to other roles and responsibilities, other teams, other functions. You look back on 2025, we promoted or moved 6 total people. And so I think that alone is kind of showcasing the impact that AI can have. We've grown our documentation team as a direct result of this. We now have like a smaller team that's focused on the continual improvement and things like that. So I would say the roles and responsibilities are ever evolving, and it's evolving based on what we're seeing in the results from our work, or what we think AI could do more for us. But I think that the roles and responsibilities and then the shifting of people into those roles has been magic. I think it's pretty awesome to see the amount of growth that our team is having.
Yeah, I can testify that here as well. We started with one person who was managing the content. Now we have 2. We had started with one person who was doing like conversation design and customer experience. Now we're kind of heading into 2 and nearly 3 space, because the amount of like little work that small incremental changes, the continuous improvement that can be done there is really like invaluable. All that, like every single little tweak makes a difference. How about you, Danielle?
Again, reflecting a lot of what Eric said, but I'll kind of speak internally. We figured out that this is working really well, and we actually built our support department around the AI once it was built in there. So we have, different tiers of employees. We've got like our frontline staff, our coordinator, and then our manager, and we saw that it worked. So then we decided to build out that infrastructure departmentally, and I'm still working on that. Building it out in adjudication, building it out in sales, building it out anywhere we can in tech, see where we can adopt AI, and then build the department around that, because that whole section of what used to be in the job description can be taken care of. And then you can build everyone else's skill set and roles to support that and handle the bigger stuff. And so that's kind of how it has helped us at the infrastructure internally. And then externally, it's really cool because now MyHSA is seen as kind of a thought leader in a very archaic industry. So we have had several different opportunities to talk about adopting AI in an industry that is known for being kind of a like ancient, like paper claims and all these things. And now we can kind of spread the good news with everyone. So it's really been, the infrastructure has been huge for our company and for our roles individually.
Absolutely. And you are a thought leader. I love that. People who come from support, they're like, what, we're thought leaders. No, we're not. You are a thought leader.
Yeah, it's an intense thing. I appreciate you saying that, but it feels weird when someone says that. But then when you think about, like, same with Eric and same with, I think, everyone at Intercom, you're pushing something that was on the horizon and now it's very much here. That is the definition of a thought leader. So
Exactly. Very good. I'm going to just remind folks who are listening to drop in some questions if they have any for us, and I'm going to ask one more question to Danielle and Eric, and then we will proceed to your questions. So, okay. So for all the folks who are in the audience and they're curious, but they're also unsure about AI's impact on their own career, what's the one piece of advice or mindset shift you think it's essential to embrace AI as a catalyst for personal growth? Let's start with you, Danielle.
My one piece of advice would just be that again, even if AI manages to do an astronomical amount of your job, 90%, let's say 90%, that's probably not going to happen. But even if it could do 90% of your job, the 10% left that you do becomes exponentially more valuable, especially if you learn how to use the AI. You will think faster, you will execute things better, you will have better project outlines, you will have better outcomes. I know I'm speaking anecdotally, but I really mean it. I really mean this. I think that AI is here to enhance the human component. It really is. So trust it, I guess.
Again, +1 to Danielle. I think the embrace it and own it is really important, because the more knowledge that you have on AI, how it works, the that translates across so many different roles, responsibilities, next company that you're moving towards. It's really valuable knowledge to have right now. So really embrace it and own it. And then also don't start with a tool in mind. Start with a problem statement. What problem are you trying to solve? And then how does the technology support solving that problem? And I think if you continue to ask yourself or challenge yourself, like, how can we do this better? Or what have we always wanted to do, but haven't been able to do it? You'll find yourself in situations where, well, we can use this AI component, or we can use AI for X, Y, and Z. And you'll start to see the results in your work. And as Danielle mentioned, like the time that you're freeing up for yourself is so incredibly valuable, that then make sure you're capitalizing on it and thinking more strategically and acting on more, so that you're seeing, like, yes, AI is you can see the tangible results, but you also can point at and say, like, these are the additional things that I'm able to take on and own as a result of AI.
Okay. Great stuff. Thank you, guys. I really, really appreciate everything you've shared today. I think it's really refreshing to talk about like reality of someone's career and how they've approached it. So thanks to everyone who tuned in to listen. Hopefully you got some inspiration, and after this, you're now kind of itching to get going, and come and find us if you want to chat more. But like Eric said, think about the problem you're trying to solve, and the solution is going to present itself. So massive thank you to Eric, to Danielle, and everyone who was here with us today. And I shall see you on the next one, I guess.